Where we stand in the NFL now.
Yep.
I think this is a interesting time, and I'm going to speak as a Washington Commandos fan right now.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the sale of the Mandos is imminent.
Yeah.
Danny Snyder and his old lady had to take all their U-Haul boxes, and they had to move out of the basement of the training facility a couple weeks ago. There's also been a lot of smoke around Bezos buying the team, but also Magic Johnson has joined another potential buyer, the Josh Harris buyer group.
Nice.
So might we be moving away from the nightmare of the Dan Snyder era? Who knows? But
it's going to happen.
All indications point to a sale within the next couple of weeks.
How did you feel about Jacoby Brissett?
I mean, I'm good with it. I think if you're talking about if we're talking about backup quarterbacks, Taylor Heineke has done some really nice things for the franchise. Got him into the playoffs one year. They were competitive last year when he was playing. Definitely a locker room guy that people liked. But Jacoby Brissett has also started actual games in the NFL. People brought him on to be a starter. And when he played in Cleveland, he was good. He didn't turn the ball over a whole lot. Mm-hmm. He played well. It was 7.1
better
yards.
Than Watson did.
He did, yeah. And also people liked him more too. So I think he is a backup plus. I still think they are hinging on Sam Howell being the starter for the first week of the regular season. I saw who they interviewed for quarterbacks in the draft. It's all the 5th and 6th round guys that we had talked about last week. Nobody who's going to really move the needle, probably just bringing in a young quarterback for depth. But
I thought it was a great signing.
I agree. He will at least make the quarterback competition competitive. He can start games at the beginning of the season and they can transition over.
He's going to be a great test for Howell because to get past him, he's not going to be able to just coast. He's going to have to outwork him and beat him. And I don't know if you ever heard it. Did you ever hear the story about Julian Edelman talking about Jacoby Brissett? It was the year that Tom Brady got suspended for 4 games for Deflategate, and they had Jimmy Garoppolo. They had just drafted. I think Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett at that point. I think they both drafted in the same year. And he talked about Jimmy won the first 2 games. He kind of injured himself. Jacoby comes in the 3rd game and plays, and then he won the game, and then I think he he tore something in his thumb.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy was kind of healthy and ready to go. And then he decided not to play. And because I guess for some reason, Julian Edelman was guys were pissed at Jimmy because we thought he was going to play. And then Jacoby ends up playing and couldn't throw the ball because his thumb was so fucked up. And he was just running, and he showed a lot of guts in that game and shit. So it's it was very complimentary of Jacoby, not complimentary of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. Who's now rich and single in Vegas, by the way. I don't know if that had happened when we recorded last week, but
I wish I was as handsome as that guy. God damn, man. That dude's living life over there.
For sure.
So I think Howell ends up winning the job, but I don't know. This is gonna be a good test for him because I think to beat out Jacoby Brissett's not gonna be easy. So you are gonna get a good idea of where they actually believe Sam Howell is. So if he ends up walking away after this, then that's great. So, but I like Howell. I like Howell.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are all Sam Howell people on the show. And ultimately, I think some of the offensive line moves that they've made over the last couple of weeks are just shoring up some of the deficiency areas that they had. I would have hoped they had made a little bit more of a splash from the offensive perspective because I still don't love their offensive pieces. They have good running backs and they have Terry McLaurin. I'm still not really sold on the other wide receivers. Jahan Dotson's nice, but he's a slot.
He had 7 touchdowns in his rookie year.
He had a lot of broken plays too. So I'm a little concerned of that. And my concern really comes from like, are we going to do another year of converted quarterback to tight end playing who has been hurt a couple of years? I saw that Dalton Schultz was a free agent and I was like, man, I would like him. Like
just signed today, by the way.
Where?
Houston Texans, 1 year, $9 million. And they
Hmm.
also got Devin Singletary too.
I mean, good for him, but he had like what, 3 years, 36 on the table from Dallas, and
hey man, that just goes to show. I think they were talking about Orlando Brown, who just signed with the Bengals for like 18 million a year. Apparently, the Chiefs had offered him like, I think it was like 20 something million last year, and he bet on himself, and he did not have the best year ever. So he took a pretty decent haircut because Laramie Tunsil today just got an extension with the Texans, and I think it was like 25 million a year for a 29-year-old.
He's the highest paid offensive tackle in the league right now.
By a lot, I would guess. He reset the market in a big way. So I'm pissed because Andrew Thomas is 24 for the Giants, and he's coming up next year most likely for an extension. Like he's going to be making like 30 million a year.
3 years, 75.
Jesus Christ.
I'll also say too that Adam Thielen had a nice payday too.
What did he get in Carolina?
He got like 3 years, 25.
Oh, I wouldn't have done that.
A lot of it's guaranteed too.
I would not have done that.
I think the reason why they did that, they were talking about in the Pat McAfee show today that he probably did that because there's a lot of uncertainty with 3 years, 25 million, and there's a decent chunk of that that's guaranteed. There's a lot of uncertainty around who the quarterback is going to be, and they wanted to land a solid receiver since they traded DJ Moore away. They wanted to get somebody who was consistent. I don't know if that's the guy though.
He kind of looked cooked the last few years.
Well, he had 2 seasons of over 1,000 yards, and everything else has been pretty.
Isn't he already like 32 at this point?
He's kind of old. Like he's been in the league for a while now.
He's got to be like 31, 32 years old. No way he's in his 20s anymore.
No. He's 32.
Yeah. 32.
Been in the league for 9 years. He had those 2 really big seasons with, let's see, 2018 and 2019. Those were 1,000-yard seasons, really big years. 2016.
He'll be 33 at the start of the season, by the way.
Yeah. 2020, 74 catches, 925 yards, 14 touchdowns. But the numbers go down.
He was under 1,000 yards in 2020, but he had 14 touchdowns. So he scores a lot of touchdowns. But like, even last year he had 6, which is not terrible. But I mean, he's somewhat durable. But like over the last few years, he's just been kind of weird. So,
I'm wondering if that's more of just a is it Jordan Jefferson effect?
Justin
Jefferson.
Maybe, but like, I don't know. I feel like they throw the ball a lot in Minnesota. So it's like, I feel like you should still be getting, and honestly, like if Justin Jefferson's on the other side, he's going to maintain that like double coverage. You should be able to get, it's about getting open. So
yeah,
he was never the best, like the biggest separator either. He was never the fastest guy ever. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird move for a team that's kind of like starting over. It's like, it reminds me of, remember when the Giants, remember when Dave Gettleman traded Odell Beckham after giving them a massive extension?
How could we forget?
Yeah. And then like they did get some cap savings from that. And you're like, okay, we're going to be going in the hole, right? Because we suck. And then he gets Golden Tate, like 3 years, $9 million a year. And I'm like, the fuck are you doing, man? You're like, he's a 29, 30-year-old dude. I'm like, why are you giving him like starter money? Like, this is insane. Like, just draft somebody and hope that they catch fire. It feels like that.
Yeah, I wonder, because that outside of him, like, think about what's left on that offense, which is effectively nothing. Like, they've stripped away it all. They've traded for McCaffrey.
I like
Chenault's good, but he's still like a 2 or 3 like years in the league. He's pretty young.
Yeah.
They have no quarterbacks right now. They have Andy Dalton.
Well, they will after April.
Whoa.
They'll have a quarterback.
But they also have no other offensive weapons. Thielen, Chenault, Chuba Hubbard. There's not a lot of like leadership there. And I'm wondering if it's more of like a leadership signing rather than like it's an intangibles rather than like athleticism.
I don't believe in that. I don't believe in leadership signings. I think that's dumb. It's like when, again, going back to Dave Gettleman here, 2018, he takes a job. What was the first signing he made? He signs Jonathan Stewart to a 2-year, $6 million contract. We knew he was drafting Saquon Barkley. Why would you sign Jonathan Stewart if Saquon Barkley is going to play 85 to 90% of the snaps? You're giving guaranteed money to a 30-year-old running back for what? And then like CJ Anderson had signed later in the offseason, and he got like 1 year, $2 million, and he ended up having that amazing year that year. And then like, I can go on and on about Dave Gettleman.
Leadership signings don't really work in the NFL because it's a capped league, right? It's a salary cap league. It makes sense in baseball and in basketball where you don't necessarily have to play these guys all the time. Like Juwan Howard made like an incredible career, like high-fiving people on the Heat's bench.
Haslam for the Heat right now.
Yeah. He's been there forever.
Yeah.
And he's been a contributor for them, but for the NFL, just given it's a capped league, but also money is tight that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for me. But all that being said, just going back to the Commandos, like they haven't made a ton of splashy moves right now, but I also don't know if there was a lot to be made out there. They signed 2 offensive linemen, which was nice. They got one of them from the Chiefs, which makes sense because Eric Bieniemy. They were able to hang on to Deron Payne, which is nice. But they have a lot of money invested in their front 7, particularly in the front 4. Mm-hmm. And I was reading some of the draft stuff on the Mandos, and it's all like cornerbacks and defensive backs that they're really looking at. So, I think the bigger story here is no longer if, but when the team is going to be officially sold. And I don't know when the draft is. Is that next week?
No, it's the end of April, so last week in April.
Okay. I don't imagine it happening before then.
It's going to take time. They might announce something, but like it's not going to like get done before then. But yeah, no, it's going to happen. Like it's only a matter of time before Dan Snyder's gone. Like, and he knows it. He's just trying to get every penny on the way out that he can. Yeah, and I know that there's that NFL investigation is going into month 14, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not looking good at this point. Like, when was the last time there was a 14-month investigation of somebody not named Donald Trump that ended up just being, oh, never mind, this wasn't a huge deal? Yeah, no, it's not gonna go well for him. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. He must have some kind of dirt on the NFL owners that like he's kind of protected himself. So I don't know.